You're listening to AM Rockland. I'm your host, Tom Osa. Thanks for joining us today. Well, Rockland County experienced a severe weather emergency Monday evening as torrential rainfall swept across the region, triggering flash flooding that submerged police, stranded motorists, and caused widespread property damage from Nanuet to Muncie and beyond. The National Weather Service issued a flash flood warning early in the evening, alerting residents to rainfall totals reaching between 4 and 5 inches countywide. And in some areas, localized downpours dumped as much as 3 inches per hour, overwhelming storm drains and forcing water into homes, basements, and businesses. The National Weather Service warned that this was a life-threatening situation, dangerous. Move to higher ground and do not attempt to travel unless you are fleeing in an area subject to flooding or under an evacuation order. However, it is starting to get a little bit nicer out there. It's supposed to be sunny today, ironically. And with some updated news, we have Supervisor George Holman from the town of Clarkstown giving us some updates on what happened overnight. Supervisor George Holman, thank you for being on AM Rockland this morning.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, happy to give an update. We definitely got hit hard in Rockland. I think I'm actually on a text thread with the county exec and the town supervisors with Congressman Lawler. And, in some parts of Westchester really got crushed. And we did have certain parts of Rockland that got hit really hard, particularly a few portions in Ramapo. In Clarkstown, we actually got more rain than anybody in the region. We got over 5 inches of rain. In fact, according to the police, I think it's 5.32 inches of rain is what was recorded in the Nanuet area. And we actually had some significant flooding within some low-lying areas within Nanuet. We actually have one lane in Route 59 was flooded right near the Kohl's shopping center, which that frankly never happens. So, but there was definitely a lot of water in that area. In fact, the Kohl's shopping center probably had about 10 inches of water at one point throughout most of their parking lot. And that kind of encircled the Pizza Hut that's there, or the pizza place that's there, and the Safe Like Glass place, behind it, it kind of slopes down. There's a wetland area back there, and there's about 3 feet of water in the parking lot that affected some parked vehicles over in that area. A little further up on 59, the Rockland Plaza, where Modell's is, and a number of
right, yeah, Panera Bread and all those.
Right, that whole area. So, as you know, in kind of the center portion of that shopping center, it kind of dips down, and there was a significant amount of water that had collected in there, and there were 2 drivers early on in the storm that attempted to drive through, and both of their vehicles were stuck and had to be towed. I think that was widely reported. I think ABC TV and News 12 were both on scene getting footage of those vehicles being towed. Fortunately, it was only 2 vehicles there. We did have a little further up, really on the town border, on Pipetown Hill Road, which is near South Pascack Road. There were some vehicles some flooding right in that area. There were a couple of vehicles that were stuck where the Nanuet Fire Department had to do get some people out, but nobody was injured. And we did have road closures throughout the storm over at Pipetown Hill Road. We also had downed trees, which has since been cleared at Old Mill Road in Strawtown and West Nyack. We had wires down in Upper Nyack on Broadway, and that was closed for a bit. And in addition, we had some other flooding that had taken place in other parts of the town.
I'm amazed at the power of these storms, and there were pictures abundantly on social media yesterday. One of them, and I don't know exactly where the picture originated, but a tree at least 3 feet in in diameter within. I mean, just completely downed. And it's amazing how wind can do that, just batter against a tree and just knock it over.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I think one of the issues that you see with that is where there's definitely some problems with um, the um, the ground becoming saturated, and that will affect some of these, some of these situations as well. So we had a very large tree at house on Branchville Road in Valley Cottage.
Yeah, that was the
Um,
one.
yeah, and it did hit the house. Thankfully, there are no injuries. It was a very large tree, so we're very fortunate that that people were not injured there. But certainly heavy winds and the residual issues we have this morning. Um, Route 59, is closed. There is some flooding there now. Thankfully, the gates didn't, at the reservoir didn't deflect until overnight, so early on in the storm. So, but there is definitely some flooding over in that area on Route 59, and so there's you have to go around the service road for the Palisades Mall,
Hmm.
and the eastbound one lane is open on the eastbound side. So definitely some and that only happened overnight. That's as it as all the runoff started to hit the area, and that's probably going to be closed for a good portion of today.
And regarding power, Orange and Rockland and Optimum, in cases like this, they're typically working with crews overnight in order to uh, get services back up and running. And I should also, of course, mention Verizon. Have there been any updates from them as far as if there's power outages or internet outages anywhere?
So there we had some significant and intermittent outages, but with the investment that Orange and Rockland in particular has put into their system, they're able to do a lot of switching, and they can divert power, so they can literally localize outages instead of in the old days. Something would go down and then you'd have 1,000 people out. They can literally get it down to a handful.
Yeah, it's like the
Um,
Matrix. You see the entire city go out back
yeah,
in the day, but
yeah. So very briefly, we had widespread outages in parts of Nanuet and down in Upper Nyack and even in portions of New City. But as of last night, there were only 8 people out of power.
that's good.
Um, you know, uh, so um, so um, the the big issue with that is that we were fortunate, in terms of, some of that. I mean, we did have some heavy winds, but it was just very significant rain. It was rain like we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah,
And that 5.32 inches of rain was by 10:30 last night. So that was literally, five and a third inches of rain that took place in under 6 hours. And just a significant amount of rainfall, and that's obviously going to cause issues, within the local region.
hmm,
Um, you know, so it's something that we're going to have to um, just be prepared for. We had um, some heavy rain now. What the concern now is the reservoir is able to absorb a lot of the initial brunt, but I'm sure the reservoir's level is up. So if we get any other significant rain in the next few days, that can become problematic, where we're likely to see more flooding than we saw here. I mean, right now, as I said, we've had flooding in some of the typical areas. And again, Route 59 is down to one lane in West Nyack by the Palisades Center Mall with some diversions. And again, that was from not during the height of the storm, but that was from the overnight, as after the storm was essentially over, as we had residual, water runoff that started to swell the banks of the Hackensack River.
Hmm. Yeah. About 14 years ago, I'm staring at the YouTube video that I did. 14 years ago, I was in Nyack. I was with a few friends. It was the middle of the day. And I mean, and the skies, I wouldn't say they were completely clear 20 minutes before, but it didn't look like anything was happening anytime soon. And then all of a sudden, just absolute torrential downpour. It was actually the Nyack Farmers Market, as I think about it. And within minutes, I mean, all of Nyack was just submerged, at least a foot of rain on the floor. People had to go to higher ground at the old Helen Hayes Performing Arts Center. They had to go to the second level of the platform right by the center, and just unbelievable. And I'm just amazed, just the power of these storms and how quickly they could come about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And with this, I mean, we knew, and we had, there was, we had some advance notice, but it really gives you an appreciation of that terrible tragedy that took place down in Texas.
Right.
With hundreds of people that were killed, and you're like, wow, how did this, how did we, see this? I mean,
Yeah.
literally, we went from, no flooding at all to 3 feet of water in Rockland Plaza's parking lot, literally within a half hour to 40 minutes. I mean, people went into the store and they came out and they're like, oh, I'm just going to drive through this puddle. And then not realizing that the puddle was, engulfing, it was 3 feet, literally, over the hood of the car, as the gentleman drove through. And just as quickly as it flooded, it receded relatively quickly as the cell, stopped raining, and then the second cell came through and it flooded again. So, again, when you have that much water coming, the ground can't absorb it, that quickly, and the storm drains are designed for max capacity. But when you get that volume of water coming from everywhere off of these impervious surfaces, it's gonna cause flooding. And so we literally, I mean, as I said, we had places in Nanuet that never flood. That like along Route 59, by Coles. Now there will be, Coles will get water in their parking lot, but Route 59 itself, it's rare in that area. But I mean, literally at one point, the whole westbound lane, 2 lanes of Route 59, right after the light there, were covered in water, and about 6 or 8 inches of water.
Jeez.
It was too much water for the storm drains, and too much water for the tributaries, to be able to handle in a very quick period of time. But as I said, as these cells of the storm passed, and the rain slowed, or down to a drizzle, or stopped entirely for periods of time. I mean, I was out in Nanuet at the Rockland Plaza as the vehicles were being towed, and it had stopped raining and the water was receding. But literally an hour after I was there, we had another cell that came through, and it just opened up again, and it flooded just as quickly again.
Jeez.
Uh, so that's what we were kind of witnessing in Clarkstown. And as I said, while we did have several road closures, the only road that's impacted this morning is Route 59. And as I said, there's a detour through the Palisade Center Mall, and there is a 1 lane open on the eastbound side.
Gotcha. Well, thankfully, the storm has subsided, and it seems like now the cleanup is in effect. And very much appreciated that probably a lot of people were working overnight to make sure that everything was safe for this morning. So we appreciate you. I know you got a very busy schedule today, so we're not gonna keep you on for too long. But thank you for being on AM Rockland today to give us this update.
Great. Thanks, Tom. Good talking to you. We'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. And thanks everybody for listening to AM Rockland this morning. And we're just going to pretty much end here. Next thing we have, I'm just getting up with the schedule for today. At 2 o'clock, we'll have County Executive Ed Day on to give us an update on the RFP for the SAIN building, SAIN, which is basically new residential housing potentially coming in that building, renovating it and building it for residential housing, as well as a variety of other issues. And just as a reminder, for all the news that matters to you most, you can head over to rocklandnews.com. Post approximately 20 to 30 stories per week on a variety of matters pertaining to you, so that you can make better choices as you traverse Rockland County. I want to thank our many sponsors, such as 99 Signs, 202 Cannabis, St. Thomas Aquinas College, and many more. My name is Tom Osa, and we'll talk with you next time. Take care.